European leaders are heading to Washington this week to discuss ending the war in Ukraine, as President Trump signals new talks with Putin and tougher sanctions. Russia launched its largest assault on Kyiv, striking the main government building and killing at least 4, while Zelensky urges Europe to stop buying Russian energy. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent says coordinated U.S. EU sanctions could collapse Russia's economy, creating leverage for peace negotiations. With diplomacy and economic pressure converging, the coming days could determine Ukraine's fate and reshape global stakes. European leaders are scheduled to visit Washington for talks on ending the war in Ukraine, according to President Donald Trump. He added that he would speak with Russian President Vladimir Putin soon and indicated that his administration is prepared to move to a second phase of sanctions on Moscow. Trump said certain European leaders would meet with him individually early this week without specifying names.
Well, nobody was tougher in Russia than me. That has to do with the pipeline, as you know, Nord Stream 2 and lots of other things. But I'm not happy. I'm not happy about the whole situation. You know, it's interesting. It doesn't affect us because it's not our soldiers. But they're losing now. I used to tell you 5,000. They're losing 7,000 between Ukraine and Russia, 7,000 soldiers every single week. It's such a horrible waste of humanity. So, no, I am not thrilled with what's happening there, I will tell you. I think it's going to get settled. So I settled 7 wars. This, I would have said, would have been maybe the easiest one to settle of all. But with war, you never know what you're getting. But we're going to get it, I believe we're going to get it settled. But I am not happy with them. I'm not happy with anything having to do with that war. It's just such a waste of great humanity.
The greatest obstacle to a peace deal in Ukraine?
Say it?
As of right now, what do you think is the greatest obstacle to a peace deal?
Well, we're going to see. I mean, we have some very interesting discussions. You know, Europe, certain European leaders are coming over to our country on Monday or Tuesday, and individually. And I think we're going to get that settled. I think we're going to get it settled. We have to. You can't lose. You know, when they're losing 5,000 to 7,000 soldiers a week for no reason, you have to get it settled.
Russia has intensified attacks on Ukraine since Trump and Putin met in Alaska last month. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky welcomed the prospect of tougher sanctions and urged European nations to stop buying Russian energy. Speaking to ABC News, Zelensky said continuing to purchase Russian oil and gas is not fair and emphasized that no deals with Moscow should be allowed if the goal is to limit Russia's ability to fund the war. He also expressed support for secondary tariffs on countries that continue trading with Russia, calling it the right approach.
I'm very thankful to all the partners, but some of them, they continue to buy oil and Russian gas, and this is not fair. I think the idea to put tariffs on the countries that continue to make deals with Russia, I think this is the right idea.
The escalation followed Russia's largest aerial assault on Ukraine since the start of the war. Ukrainian authorities reported that Moscow fired over 800 drones and 13 missiles in a single night, killing at least 4 people and striking Ukraine's main government building in Kyiv for the first time. U.S. envoy to Ukraine, Keith Kellogg, condemned the attack, saying it showed Russia is not seeking a diplomatic resolution. Trump said he was not happy with the situation and called it a waste of humanity while noting that he believes the war will eventually be settled. The economic dimension of the conflict remains critical. Since the start of Russia's full-scale invasion in March 2022, Moscow has earned nearly $1 trillion from oil and gas exports, according to the Center for Research on Energy and Clean Air. China and India have been the largest buyers, while the European Union has significantly reduced imports but plans to end them entirely by 2027. Last month, the United States imposed a 50% tariff on Indian goods over continued Russian oil purchases. India has defended its energy policy as necessary to protect domestic interests. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent told NBC's Meet the Press that the United States is seeking European support for secondary tariffs targeting countries still buying Russian oil. Bessent said that coordinated sanctions could collapse the Russian economy and force President Putin to negotiate. He described the situation as a race between Ukraine's military resilience and Russia's economic endurance under sanctions. Bessent added that action by both the US and EU could significantly pressure Moscow while giving Ukraine a stronger chance to withstand the conflict.
If EU nations increase sanctions and secondary tariffs on countries that buy Russian oil, the Russian economy will be in total collapse, and that will bring President Putin to the table. We are in a race now between how long can the Ukrainian military hold up versus how long can the Russian economy hold up.
Trump has emphasized that his administration has been tough on Russia while pushing for diplomatic solutions. He has hosted meetings with both Putin and Zelensky, as well as European leaders in Washington, in attempts to broker a peace settlement. Despite these efforts, Moscow continues its bombardment of Ukrainian cities, and Kyiv and Moscow remain far apart on key issues. When asked about the biggest obstacle to a peace deal, Trump did not mention Putin or Moscow, noting instead that discussions with European leaders in Washington would be important. The president also commented on the conflict in Gaza, expressing optimism that a resolution could be reached soon, framing it as a challenge for Israel and the broader Middle East. Domestically, he said the administration would make decisions shortly on crime prevention in US cities, citing recent efforts in Washington, D.C. and Chicago. With European leaders arriving in Washington this week, the administration aims to press for coordinated sanctions and secondary tariffs to weaken Russia's economic position. Zelensky has warned that without stronger measures and an end to Russian energy purchases, Moscow will continue to finance its military campaign. Trump reiterated that his efforts to end the war will continue, but the latest Russian attacks highlight the challenge of reaching a diplomatic resolution. The coming days may prove crucial in determining whether a unified Western strategy can alter the course of the conflict and support Ukraine's defense while managing broader global economic impacts.